welcome to Equestria Plush Adventures in Design. My name's Marie. This is my son Aaron. Thanks for coming. I hope everyone's been enjoying the con. Very many of you get to see the show this morning? I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I didn't get to make it. I was up really late last night, so I had to sleep a little bit. So I'll just tell you a little bit about us first. We're kind of a family that does the plushes. It's myself. I have two sons, my husband, and my very good girlfriend. She's really my daughter. Second, that we all work on them together. It's kind of our group vision that makes them what they are. It's a lot of fun to be a part of the fandom. It's a wonderful environment. We started about December 2011, I think. We started, and then it was really hilarious what they looked at in the beginning. I'm going to show you some of that in a few minutes. And then we kind of got a little bit better. Then we went to our first convention, and haven't looked back since then. Just love the fandom, love the show, and we've just had a really great time. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you some, Okay, sorry, I wanted to make sure I had the slides in the right order. So you're going to see what some of the original first ponies that we made looked like. Not all of them, because I'm embarrassed with some of them. This is the very first one. This one is actually modeled off of a picture that Jordan had drawn, just very simple one. We thought, okay, well, we'll kind of put this out. With a combination of a giraffe pattern that Simplicity has out. We kind of tried, okay, how are we going to do this? And this is hilarious. It's very two-dimensional and flat, and it's also made out of flannel, which is not a great choice. So that was the first one we made. And these are the second ones that we made. They're actually OCs for Jordan's girlfriends that she made for Christmas presents. So those are kind of the very first Equestria plush Jordan and I put together that anyone actually has outside of us. And then this is one that was the next evolution of the pattern. We got a little bit of 3D on the mane and the tail, and the eye is all felt. I hand cut out all those little pieces, and so I should have brought it. It's very three-dimensional, the eye, and I thought it was fabulous. I just thought this was, oh my gosh, awesome. And then we just started looking at the pattern again, and then we started figuring out, maybe we want a little more show accurate. So then we started looking more closely at the show, and then we changed our pattern a little bit, and we got this. And if I remember right, this is our first embroidered eye. Or no, it's our first applique eye. I appliqued that one on. I actually printed the eye on fabric through my printer, and I cut it out, and then I appliqued it by machine onto the pony. And again, I thought, look at this, we do, wow, this is awesome. And yeah, no, it's like really long and kind of funny shaped. So we went back again, looked at the patterns, and said, okay, made some more changes. And then we got this. Now we have, that is an embroidered eye. We got an embroidery machine, and we embroidered the eye and the cutie mark, and improved the mane and tail. And that pattern for that mane and tail is pretty much what you see here. We only did a few more little tiny changes, but it's basically this one here. But then we made a few more. Now see how she kind of stands a little straighter, and she has a nicer chest, and ear shape is better. I think that's the last one, right? There's one more. Okay, and so at the time when I made this slideshow, that was our pattern. We since then have changed it again. This here is a good example of our new pattern. It has, the legs are very defined, they're flat, the chest is round. We have all the embroidery is very, very nice and neat. You can come up and see this sometime if you like. This is actually an OC for a young lady over here, and she is Diva Pony? Diva Pony. And so we don't actually do very many OCs because when OCs take a lot of time to make a pattern for the mane and tail that you're only going to use one time. Same with the cutie marks or the eye designs. So I do very little OCs, just because I do so many conventions that I need to have our main 6 because so many people like to have those. So these are very rare to have. So the next thing I'm going to show you is kind of a slow slideshow of kind of the progress that I go through, or the progression I go through to actually make a pony. What fabric? Embroidery. So it gets all embroidered first, and then we cut it out. Some of the different pieces that goes with it. And the ears are a whole separate construction, and then are put into the head. And they're pinned in, and then it's more pinning. When you make the plushes, pinning is probably the number one most important thing to make sure that everything's going to line up. If you do a sloppy pin job, it's not going to matter how well you sew. It's not going to be, it'll be twisted or tweaked, or if you get really lucky, it'll be perfect. But yeah, not usually, especially with Minky because it moves. So I do quite a lot of pinning. So now she's pretty much together, and now we're going to stuff her. Jordan does the majority of all of my stuffing. Stuffing is a craft almost unto itself. It seems like it would be something that would be, oh, you know, I could do that. Oh, no. It just, they get lumps, they get soft here, they're hard there, and it's not shaped right. It's very much an art of it, and she's excellent at it. She can do 2 or 3 a day, and they come out just perfectly, no lumps or bumps, and not twisted. And then this would be manes and tails. Kind of go through the same process. Again, the pinning is very important. You have to make sure that where all your design lines are, they match exactly, otherwise it'll be kind of crooked and not look right. So pinning, again, is very important. Make sure the pieces look good. Pinning them on and then sewing them. You would think that this one would be really easy. It's actually extremely difficult to sew it because the mane is so full that trying to get the needle in there is just really difficult. I have to use a curved needle most of the time. So we do that, and pliers, like I feel like a surgeon. Yeah. Here we go, she's all done. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the materials and stuff. I don't know if it's not what you want to hear about, just let me know. We'll talk about something else. But when I first started, we used flannel, and then I moved to fleece because fleece is soft and it's not quite as expensive as Minky, and it kind of gives you similar stretch, not exactly, but similar to work with. So if you're going to or are thinking about doing any kind of plushing, even if it's not ponies, it's another pillows or whatever you might be thinking you want to do, I would suggest using the fleece first, because you can kind of get an idea of how you want to do things at a very reasonable cost, and then you can move to Minky if you want to. They actually have lots of styles of Minky. I use a 3mm pile. I think it's pretty much what most plush makers use, but you can actually get much longer, all the way to a fur that's about this long. They have what they call eyelash, which is about a half an inch long, really soft and fuzzy. So it just kind of depends on the look you want to have, what kind of Minky you might get. I get most of all of my Minky online. Actually, I get all of my Minky online. I have 3 major sources that I get it from, and sometimes 4. My husband and my other son decided to join. Do you guys want to come up here, sit down? You want to come up here and sit down? No? All right. But So anyway, if you want to know where it is that I get those from, I'd be more than happy to tell you. I use all Shannon fabrics that are Cuddle 3, that's what I use. They have the majority of colors that you want. Very few times I'll go outside of that brand because there's actually quality differences. The Shannon stretches a bit different than some of the other brands. Not that they're any better or worse, just different, and I like to have a consistency when I sew. Okay, so that's enough about fabric, I suppose. The embroidery machines that I use are Brother machines. We have it's a 400 or 440? 400? A 400 and a 770. I would love to have one of those super nice machines with all the different ones, but they're really expensive. But for to start out, I think you can get a Brother for a couple of $100, and you can do these. I mean, it's really awesome. So it's very affordable if it's something you're thinking about doing. I highly recommend it. There's also some really great sources in the DeviantArt, or DA world, for patterns for the embroidery. The Pony, and there's a couple of other ones where you can actually get the files and the machine reads it, and boom, there you go. He has pretty much all of the Pony's cutie marks and eyes. They're, I don't want to say not generic, but they're like the standard. So if you wanted expression, then you're talking about you're going to have to fix those files or create your own. I'm not sure if you can actually change his. You may not be able to. And then, let's see, what else is there I was going to talk about? There's something else I was going to say. I can't recall now. Drawing a blank. Let's see. I forgot what I was going to talk about. Anyway. Oh, patterns. A lot of people ask me if I sell my patterns. I don't sell my patterns. It's taken about, we admit to about 22 pattern changes, and there's been probably a lot more than that, but that we have gone through in order to get things where they are. However, I used to always say that Valley Violet, who's also on DA, that's her DA persona name, has patterns available that she sells on Estee, and they're really good. They're a bit complicated, but they come with great instructions, but lots of pieces. But just recently, there's a very well-known plush maker. She used to be called Space Voyager on DA, and she's now called Planet Plush. And she has released a version of her pattern, which is really great. They make plushies similar to this size, the tiniest bit smaller, but really, really great one to use. She has much more simple instructions, not quite as thorough as Valley Violet's, but I think they're plenty for even a novice to understand and be able to do it. So that's it. Did you have a question?
Yeah. How many hours does it take for you to just make one?
One complete pony. It takes me about a day, so about 24 hours. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it does. It takes about that long between, the cutting and the sewing and then the hand sewing. To be honest, I've never sat down and pulled out the fabric and cut it out, embroidered it, sewed it, and done the whole thing from stop to finish to really know. Because I work on this, then I'll work on that, and I'll work on this, and I'll work on that. And it just depends where the light is in my sewing room. I kind of move, and that's where how I do that. But about that long. My princesses, they take a couple of weeks to really get from zero to done, because those I take a lot of time. A lot of it's hand done. Hand done. All of them we make by hand. None of is made by anyone else, but those take quite a long time to make, because you have to have a structure on the inside that's going to support everything, that kind of thing. Yeah. So let's see, there's something else I want to talk about. I think that's it. Do you have anything else on the slideshow? That's good? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Sure.
It's more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
The golden gates that you did for this year, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. The pattern came to me through Sonia. I know that she had an artist do it because I ran into this artist when I was carrying them up to my room, and she said, you were with me, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember her name?
I don't.
darn, I should have written it down. But she was like, yeah, that's mine. I said, wow, it was really great, thank you. And she goes, no, I didn't do the poster. I did the concept art. And I said, no, that's what I have is a concept art on my wall. So yeah, they did a really great job. It was that was one of the challenges I had with that. I was thinking, okay, because last year's was really awesome, but it's a mascot, so they don't change really a whole lot. So how are you going to make it new for the people who are investing in our convention by purchasing one of those packages? So I thought she did a great job in bringing a little bit of the magical girls into the ponies. So I was really pleased with that. And I'd never done a ponytail before, so that was like real, yay, finally, get to do a ponytail. It's like, yes?
How many plush ponies have been sold so far?
I've been asked that before, and I really should count. I don't know. I really don't. Probably well over 100. I go to shows, and most time I bring about 20 with me. Sometimes I bring some home, sometimes I don't. I do a lot of commission work, like people contact me through DA, or people I meet in the convention, I'll give them my business card and my email, and I say, email me, tell me you saw me at the convention, and then I kind of put them at the top of my commission list, and I make their ponies. So I really haven't kept track. I'm a bad girl. Should do that. Yes?
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First, are you going to be here next year? Because you want to set it up to buy one.
Yes, yes.
And then, do you have a background in this or something? Or how did you get involved in that?
That's a good story. First of all, I will be here next year. We were already talking about concept for next year's pony yesterday. Actually how I got started is really because my son here and my girlfriend Jordan, they were, like my son would be up at like 2 o'clock in the morning with his, his game headset on, talking to someone on the East Coast watching My Little Pony. I'm like, what is he doing? I'd be like coming home from work or it's like, what are you doing, dude? And then Jordan wanted to make the ponies for her girlfriends for Christmas, and then I started, okay, what are you guys watching? And I started watching it, and I remember when my niece, who's now as old as these guys are, playing with My Little Pony. I'm playing with her with them, so I've always liked My Little Pony. And then when I found out what was going on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. There's a place for people who just want to be nice to gather and be nice. Wow, you can't ask for more than that, right? So it's like, yes, finally, because like probably most of you that aren't kids going to school, we all have those full-time real jobs that most people are, not that are just not wanting to have fun. So it's really nice to be a part of this fandom. So that's kind of where I got my start, was from these two, and they brought me in, and like I said, when I went after the first convention, we never looked back. We've been doing it ever since. And then as far as my background, I've always sewn. My mother taught me when I was about 9, so I started sewing. But before this, I really did kind of, I love costuming, like Renaissance costumes. I've made costumes, replicas of like the Alice in Wonderland that Tim Burton did with the Queen of Hearts, did that kind of stuff, and weddings. So I had never sewn plushes before at all until I did ponies. It was like, okay, 3-dimensional, we could try this. So as I said, it took a while, about 22 pattern changes to get there. It's been fun though. Anyone else? Yes?
So, me?
Sure.
Okay.
Then you can
So then do you have a day job?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do. We live in Las Vegas, and I work in the catering department in banquets at the Mandalay Bay, and that's a full-time job. So, yeah, it's great fun. Yes.
Well, you said that Pinkie Pie's spinning was kind of hard to do. What would you say is the easiest?
Probably Fluttershy's, I think. Fluttershy's and Rarities are, because they're the style, like they're one color, well, so is hers, but they're not quite so 3-dimensional. They're more 2-dimensional. So I can sew the design lines in easily, and I can attach it and make the shapes really nicely, real easy. For me, it is. Yeah. I'm sure there'd be other plush makers that would say, oh no, and they have a totally different opinion about it. Yes, you had something.
Do you have any tips for how to cutie mark one of your plushes? Because I tried doing one of mine and it just fell apart.
To add one to a plush already?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a couple of ways you could go about it. You could order a patch through like Either Pony, or there's a couple of other ones on DA. I don't think we have any patch makers here, do we? In our vendor hall. But we do? Oh, you do? We have. I would buy one from them and hand sew it on. Or you could get a picture of it and buy some of that fabric that you can put through your printer. You can find it at any of the fabric stores, and then just have it print on it. You could cut it out, and you could sew that onto your pony. Either of those. Yes, ma'am.
How much do you usually sell them for?
How much did I sell them for? They start about $350, and then my Celestia is $1,400, and so is my Nightmare Moon. Yeah, they're a lot of work. Yeah. Yes.
Do you use a special kind of fiber fill?
No, just a standard polyester fill. I actually tried a couple of different ones. Like there was a cotton one that was a bit more expensive, and I thought, but it might be great for people, would be less allergic or maybe, but it just balled up, and it was impossible. Yeah, it was, and it had a weird, like, greasy texture. It was very strange, and so I just have stuck with the common polyester fill. So, and also, that made me think of something. Minky is extremely resilient. You can wash it. So when you get one of these, if you get it dirty, you can take like regular laundry detergent, not a lot, just a little bit on wet cloth, and you can just and take a damp one and get it off, and it'll dry, and you can just brush it, and it'll look just like this. I had some Celestias that I was making, and I used a pink pin to do the outlines in it. I thought a light pink. I thought, okay, that'll be good because it's white. Well, I'll use that. Oh, not a good idea. You could just see it through. So I couldn't use them. They're ruined. So I thought, well, I'll stick them in the washer. I stuck them in the washer and dryer, and they came out, and they were fine. So that's pretty remarkable. Even with the embroidery and stuff, everything came out, and it was fine. Yes.
2 questions.
Sure.
First off, how exactly do you get like the embroidery onto the tail for the
Okay.
And the second question, I'm sorry to ask like for repeat, but you mentioned they use sort of that selling like the patterns.
Uh-huh.
Will they use it?
The young lady for the pony patterns?
Yeah.
Let's see, on DeviantArt, her name is Planet Plush.
The other one.
The first one, there's also Valley Violet.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Valley Violet's pattern has a lot more pieces. Like my pony, for instance, she's made with 4 pieces. That's all. I have 4 pattern pieces. Really, I don't know if you get the sides, the bottom, and the top. I guess if you count the ears, it'd be 6. Where yeah, right. Valley Violet's pattern, which I got in the beginning because I kind of wanted to see what she had going on. It had 16 pieces. Yeah, and a lot of them would, and it makes a beautifully shaped pony. And you could actually, if after you got familiar with the pattern, you would know, oh, I could put these 2 together and these 2 together and make a 1 piece out of those 2 pieces. But it's just her technique for pattern making. That's why I suggest looking at Planet Plushes as well, because I know her style of sewing, and it's going to be less pieces. Yeah, and she's a really nice. You can actually, you'll see her work if you go on DA, and you'll know that the quality of the pattern is going to be great. Okay, and what was the other question? I'm sorry.
The one about the embroidery on the
Oh, okay. We do it 2 ways, depending on the size of the mane. Like this one, my husband actually hoops it in our large machine, and he has a program that just knows where to make all the designs on Pinky's hair. And then on this size, I do it. I actually, after I cut it out, I turn it upside down and I hand draw all the designs on it, and then I take it over to my machine and I follow those. I'm really not good at the freehand art. I just can't. You'd think I'd be able to because I've done it so many times, but no, it looks bad. So I just always draw it on the back, and then I just follow that under the machine. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes?
2 questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult will it be to make a T-Rex plush?
I have no idea. I'm sorry? Repeat. He was asking me how hard it would be to make a T-Rex plush.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I would imagine a 10 because I would have to begin at the very beginning because I have no idea. I'd have to study the structure and the cartoon, if it's based on a cartoon, or I have no idea. I'm sorry. And your second part?
Have you ever commissioned getting someone to make a male pony?
Yes, we have a new colt pattern. We have only done one pony, and that was actually an OC that I took on, and that was at least a year, if not over a year, to get that actually put out. It's a Borg style pony. It's actually in my booth. If you have an opportunity, you should come see it because it's really awesome. The guy that I made it for is actually I think he's like the second partner in Ponyville Live, and it's his OC, and we struggled with trying to figure out how we were going to make it look how his picture looked for a year, and it came out really awesome. I was really like, wow, so you should come check it out. Yes?
Can you describe the process, how you go from a picture to plush in terms of proportions and shape?
Okay, for inspiration, we use the show for sure. We want to do show accuracy, and we're also looking for an interesting expression or something that when you look at it, you go, oh, that's Pinky, or that's, that's Nightmare Moon, or, so we find what we want. We take that image and we use that as our inspiration. And then as far as getting it the right size and whatnot, that's really kind of a bit trial and error with the patterns, because you're going to draw your pattern like this and you think, okay, this is the right size, the right height, whatnot. You put it on the fabric, you cut it out, you sew it, and you stuff it and go, oh my goodness, it's really long. Well, the stretch of the fabric is like this. So if you actually saw my patterns, they don't look like this. They look much different because we've had to factor in how much stretch the fabric has. It really affects it tremendously. It's probably one of the largest hurdles to go through when making the patterns. Did that answer that for you? Yeah, okay, good. Anyone else? Yes?
About how much money you spend on materials for one pony?
For one pony, oh, yes. I know the answer to that. I've had people ask me that a few times. I have roughly over $100 in the materials. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more if I can get the fabric on sale or the threads or something. A spool of thread is around like $9 to $12 for a little spool of thread because it's a special thread. The fabric is anywhere from, say, $14 to $22 for 36 inches of it. It's quite expensive, and I buy in large quantities, so you would think I should be getting pretty much the best deals you can get, but so it just kind of depends. Yes? I actually use a quilting wheel. Let's see, it's a rotary cutter for the most part. Like when the little spots, like right here where like the hawk is, or right here real close up on the neck and the nose, I stop and I trim it very carefully with a pair of scissors. I use a little small scissor, but I use the rotary. I wouldn't suggest using the rotary right off if you're not used to it, because you'll just, they cut really fast, but they make the nice neat cuts, so I like to use that. Anyone else? Yes?
Do you have any tips for short manes and tails?
Any tips?
Yeah.
Like how to make them? They're pretty much, are you talking about for like cosplay or for ponies?
I meant for plushies.
For plushies, okay. Well, for short ones, it's pretty much the same process as it is for a long one. You have to decide like what look you want to have, and then you draw that pattern out, whatever it is, and remembering you have to allow for the stretch, and then cut it out and sew it, or maybe you're going to cut it out and put your design lines in. On some of them, like some ponies, they'll have like the really kind of wild stuff going on, you might want to make separate little pieces that you attach on so you can get it to look just the way you want it to. So it kind of depends on if you want to do a one piece or if you want to do several pieces. Yeah. If you want like specific information, we could talk because it's okay. All right. Anyone else? Yes.
So after you pin it, do you use a machine to sew it, or do you hand sew it? Oh, and
Just a,
then,
yeah, just a machine.
And then you hand sew the pieces on afterwards?
Yeah, the tails and manes are all hand sewn on. Everything else is machine sewn. Well, the ears are there. I actually machine my ears into the seam, and then I leave half the ear out of the seam, and so that I can give it that little look. So then this part is sewn down by hand, but everything else is by machine. The smaller ponies like these, you can actually teach your embroidery machine to do all of the designs and then sew it. But you have to be like a real super smarty, and they figure that stuff out. And again, when it comes to the computer stuff, it's like, oh, no, just put me in front of the machine, and I do good. But yeah, the pattern that I was talking about with Space Voyager, hers is sized so that all of her manes and tails can actually be done that way on the 770. She's sized hers to do that, which I'm sure is really awesome. You know, she can have a really consistent product. Anyone else? No? Yes?
You talked about structure of your princess. Can you go into more detail on that?
On the structure of them? Well, the princesses are big and are taller, so they need to have a base that's going to make them stand. You know, so when you stuff them, they have to be stuffed in such a way that they're going to be sturdy enough that they're going to stand there, and they're going to stand there for 2, 3, 4 years. So we, like Celestia on the TV, she actually has much thinner legs than what I put on her. Although mine are very thin, they're not as thin as if you really check the show, because it just can't happen. You know, she would be all over. So we have to size the pattern to make sure that, okay, this is going to work. We also have, like in the wings, I have a stainless steel wire so that you can like shape them or keep them up. Well, that wire is encased in a tube, and that tube goes down into the front leg, so that it helps to add stability to the front leg and allows you to pose your wing. So things like that. So you have to build all those things in, allow room for it to be in there on the princesses. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am?
Do you have any tips for proper stuffing them?
Yeah, Jordan?
I actually use, I have 3 sticks I normally use, and most of the time my 2, like index finger and then middle finger, because you have to basically move the stuffing around constantly, or else it starts bunching up. You have to do it in small pieces as well. You can't just take a huge clump and then shove it in there. Otherwise, you're going to get lumps, because you can have the best pattern in the world. If you don't stuff it right, it's just going to look like a blob. And sticks help to move it around as well if you can't. Like sometimes you will have to pull stuffing out if it does get too clumped, but I use a fairly thick wooden stick and a smaller stick for like little tiny areas that I can get some stuffing in there without having to pull it back out. I'll do that. But yeah, it's just all about carefully packing piece by piece. So I've gotten good enough to where I can do 2 to 3 problems a day. But in the beginning, it was like barely one.
Are we done stuffing? I think it's getting close to being the end. So maybe we will, unless anyone has any other thing that I missed that they really want to ask. No? Okay. So we'll do the raffle. Okay. Okay. 5.
Oh my god! There's evidence. What is going on today?
Okay, one more. Who's for me best time? She likes to have fun and do this. All right, so this one is 243040. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of the con. I know I will. I'll see you next year if you're going to be here.